lesson, we're going to be using AutoCAD to construct the locator part. And so we want to make sure that we're using construction lines as shown when we turn in the project. So when I open up AutoCAD, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have the startup command so I can choose either imperial or metric. So when I open up AutoCAD, I want to make sure I'm in feet and inches, which is imperial. Before I begin constructing lines, I'm going to make the snap settings at 1/2 inch for the X and the Y, and I'm going to do the same for the grid at 0.5 for the X and the Y. The other thing I'd like to do here is in the object snap, go ahead and make sure I have my midpoint, endpoint, and center boxes selected. And I can always turn it on and off at the bottom by clicking on the icon for the snap and the grid. So they're both on right now. So I'm going to go ahead and make some new layers. So go ahead and type in layer. And if you hover over it, the new layer, it'll go ahead and tell you what it is. And go ahead and click on the icon. First thing I'm going to type in is construction. Now, construction is going to be the lines that I use to build the object. And second thing I'm going to do is go ahead and type in object. I'll hover over, go ahead and click new layer, and then I'll type in object. Now after I do this, I want to change the color. So go ahead and double click on the white icon, and I'm going to select the blue color. And select OK. Now it's kind of important to understand what layer I'm working in. So I want to make sure that my set current layer is the construction. I'm going to start out building construction lines. Construction lines are different than the object lines because they're used to measure and to build from. So this is the locator part, and I'm going to be making a drawing that has the top, front, and side view, similar to the outline you've seen here. This is a typical orthographic drawing. So I'll go to the Draw menu, and instead of using the Line tool, I'm going to select the construction line. And what I'll go ahead and do is it wants to know a point. And typically what I'll do here is I like to start off 0, 0. So select vertical, type in 0, 0, and push enter. And then push enter again. I'll do the same thing for the horizontal. So select the construction line and select horizontal. And then I'll also type in 0, 0, and press enter. And then I hit escape. Now, next thing I need to do is make more construction lines. And these are going to be 2.5 inches from the 0 going up and 5 inches going to the right on the vertical. So I'll do the exact same thing, but I'm going to, instead of typing in the construction line, I'm going to type in offset and press enter. And then I'm going to type in the distance. So going up, I'm going to type in 2.5, and then I'll go ahead and select the line. And you want to play around with this. If you move your mouse up, the line goes up. If you move your mouse down, it goes down. So make sure you type in offset, give the distance. And so you need to move the mouse up or down if you want to know where it's going, all right? So we'll type in offset here. The distance is 2.5. Push enter, and then select the object, and then move your mouse up, and then hit escape. Now I'm going to do the same thing again, but this time I have a different distance I want to go. So I'll go ahead and type in, I'm just reading from my drawing. This one is 1.5 inches, and then the following one will be 3. So I'll go ahead and type in 1.5, enter, select the second line, construction line, move my mouse up, click it, and push enter. And then I can either push enter again to activate the offset command, or I can type it in. And then in this case, I'm going to type in the distance. of 3 inches. All right, so those are my 4 horizontal lines, and now I'm going to do the same for my vertical lines. Under front view there, it's actually 5 inches. So we're seeing in that drawing the top, front, and side view. Type in offset, and in this case I'm going to type in 5. Push enter, select the line, and move it to the direction I want to go. And hit escape, push enter again. In this case, I'm going to type in 1.5, press enter, select my line, move my mouse to the right, hit escape, push enter, because that tool should still be activated. And then I'll go ahead and type in 3, push enter, select the line, and move my mouse to the right. And hit escape. Now I have created the primary construction lines, and it's always important to verify your dimensions here. So for this activity, we're actually just going to be dimensioning the construction line. Typically you wouldn't do this, but for this exercise, it's important that these construction lines have been created the same. So what I'm doing is I'm just pressing enter after each sequence. All right, then hit escape. So far so good. I'm not worried about the precision on this in terms of the 0.00. All right, so what I want to do here is make sure that this is in the construction. So I highlighted everything, I right-clicked, or I typed in properties, and where the layers, right now it's in the 0 layer, I want to move this to the construction line. All right, if you haven't done so already. And the nice thing about that is I can always turn it off if I need to, just to verify, just by turning that light bulb off, and it'll tell me that's the current layer. You sure? For this application, sure. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on, though, is what I'm going to want to do, because this is what I'm building everything around. But I am going to be working in an object, so that is now my active layer. And then the other thing we want to do is type in, select 50 millimeters. I'm actually going to do this for all the layers that I want to see, with the exception of the construction. And then I go to the right side of my menu bar and make sure it's activated. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom ribbon and make sure that the line weight is also activated. All right. And now I'm going to start building the object. So the beautiful thing about this, because I have the construction line, all I have to do is simply follow over the lines that have already been made for me. So this is going to be my top view of the locator part. This is going to be the front view. And then on the right box will be the side view. And this way, everything's accurate. And so when you do a orthographic drawing, everything must line up. So all the lines must line up. That's why we're using construction lines. You can try it without construction lines, but I guarantee you it won't be accurate. And then you're also going to see this 45-degree angle in that top right box that we're also going to use. All right, so I'm going to add some more construction lines, and I'm going to do this based on my drawings that I have here. So I'm going to be referring back to my drawings. You should be doing the same of that three-dimensional part that you're drawing. So in this case, I'm going to be making some 1-inch lines. So I'm going to offset these construction lines up 1 inch, push enter again. I'm going to do the same thing. And so essentially what I'm doing is I'm looking at my drawing and I'm making the parts so that they're all going to be consistent in the top, front, and side views. And so you can see I'm adding the lines because this is in the object portion. It's got the proper line weight. And so what I'll be doing is the parts that I don't need, I'll just go ahead and type in trim. and that'll get rid of the parts that I don't need. And so you want to be looking at your drawing as you do this. And I'm going to be jockeying back and forth between the construction line and the object line and which is going where. So you can see that I've already gone ahead and started drawing this first side view projection of the part. All right, so we finished the first exercise. Now in this lesson, we're going to continue on with the locator part. So I'm going to now concentrate on building the object in the object layer. So I'm working from my drawing, and now I'm making the top view of this part, and I'll just continue building these lines that I need. All right, so I'm just going to be offsetting the construction lines, and the nice thing is they should stay in the current layer they're in, and that's going to be 1 inch. There's actually 3 1-inch segments, so I have that there, so that'll be very helpful. And I'll do another offset command, and this one will be also, actually this will be 1 3/4 of an inch. So this is going to be where the break is of the part, where it comes in. And you'll notice that this is extremely helpful because the top and the front view are going to be the same, line up correctly. All right, so now what I'm doing is just offsetting these parts. This one is the center of the half circle. And so I'm just working off my drawing, and this is what you'll be doing when you're not watching the videos, when you have to do this on your own. And so there's a little cutout on the top view that I have to make, and that is a little trickier because it doesn't actually tell you the dimension. So what I have to do is I know that looking at the side view in this case, it's 30 degrees. So I'm going to have to line that up also. All right, so just continuing to build, and this is the top view. So the problem is I don't really know where the part with a slant stops and ends. And so what I can do is construct all the parts leading up to it, all the construction lines. And so this one's at 0.25 inches, 1/4 an inch. And there's a little cutout there. So I'm just rather than taking my line tool and drawing in there, I'm just going to set it all up for myself. It'll be a lot easier. And then I just follow in with my line tool, and I'm essentially building along those points. And so this is where I need to turn the snap off because this is 1/4 of an inch. And if you remember, we set it up for 1/2 an inch. So that's why it's nice to be able to turn that off and on. All right, and here's one angle, so I've already figured that out. Now I can mirror these later. So I'll go ahead and type in mirror and press enter. Go ahead and select the object. And there's the midpoint. I don't want to delete it, so press no. I can go ahead and trim this off. Select everything that I need, trim what I don't need. Be a little careful because if you're not careful, you'll also do the construction lines which isn't the worst thing, but just can be a little complicated. All right, so I'm just getting rid of the lines I don't need. I could also delete these after I do that trim. All right, so it's good to go ahead and turn everything off and you can kind of see what you missed. So let's go ahead and trim this without all those construction line parts. Oh. All right, so that should be pretty good so far. Let's get that layer turned back on for the construction so I can continue making these parts. All right, so I'm going to put one right in the center that's 1/2 inches offset. And then I'll go ahead and build a circle there. I know exactly where it is, so I'll go ahead and build that circle, snap it to the end, and then go ahead and take my line tool and just snapping right on there because I have my ortho snap turned on. And then I'll go ahead and trim these. Again, it's a little tricky with the construction lines off, but this is probably the fastest way to do it. All right, so just verifying everything. Everything looks good. All right, so I need to transcribe essentially all that to the front view, and that's where this gets a little tricky, and that's why I need those construction lines. All right, so rather than try to figure that out, what I'll do is I'll turn the construction line layer back on, and let's go ahead and build a line. You're going to see me take a line from the bottom. This has to be at a 45-degree angle. All right, doesn't really matter how far away these parts are from each other, just as long as that's a 45-degree angle. So in this case, it was 1/2 inches apart, what we did, but it just has to be at a 45-degree angle. And so what I can do then is I can just go ahead, I don't want to be in this layer, this should be in the construction layer. Make that my active layer. All right, and I'm going to make more construction lines. So I can always click on it, right click, and hit the properties or quick properties, and change it from one layer to another. All right, so I'm just going to make all these vertical lines at these intersections of the 45-degree and the horizontal line. This will save us an incredible amount of time. And I can just keep pushing enter after I finish the command. So at that intersection, just move my mouse, push enter to reactivate it. Okay, I think I'm missing one, but that's okay. Let's just keep plugging along here. All right, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and offset that now by 1/4 inch. And then I'll go ahead and make a construction line 1/4 inch from the end. All right, and hit escape. And now I can start building the side view, which is the view on the right. All right, so let's get into the object, make that the current layer, and I'll continue to build this. So I'm making all my vertical lines. A lot of these are going to get trimmed, so it's okay for now. We'll just go ahead and build these lines. And you've completed the second part of the exercise. So for the final exercise for the locator part, I'm going to continue to build the object based on the drawing of the orthographic view. So what I need to do is start putting my angles in. And so I'm going to make some more parts in the construction. And so the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to build a line, and this line is at 30 degrees of an angle. So I'm just going to go ahead and build a horizontal line, and then type in rotate, and I'll select the point, which is at the top of the part, and the corner, and I'll just go ahead and type in 30 degrees. So when you type in minus, it goes actually clockwise. When you type in positive integer, it'll go in counterclockwise. And so that's going to be my 30 degrees. And so I'm going to need to make a construction line based on that so I can see where the line goes in my side view. So I went ahead and mirrored that line. And I don't want to delete it, so I can just push enter. All right, so we need some more lines. I'm going to build another construction line, a horizontal one, at the intersection where that line is meeting the outside of the part. All right, so that's the first intersection. And I'll make some more construction lines here. All right. So now I have a little bit more lines that I can operate from. And you should be looking at your part as you do this, just so you can understand where these lines and what they're representing. So this is a little notch that you see in the top that's been cut out. All right, so far so good. Okay. So let's go ahead and trim some of these parts. And then rather than trim the other side, I can just mirror this over there. And before I do, I just want to inspect and make sure that I have all the parts that I need. And what I can do is just turn the construction layer off and actually delete these after I've gone in and hit the trim command if needed. Because you can see I'm actually deleting some of the construction lines, which isn't really all that helpful, to be honest. All right. So let's go ahead and mirror that. We want to mirror that to the center. Oh, that's not the center. Let's try that again. That's the center. Come down, snap, push enter, and then I can continue building this. All right. Now I'm going to add a new layer called hidden, and then a new layer for center. And these are my dimension lines, so to speak. This is the center line. make sure it's at 50 degrees. Actually, I have it on 30 degrees millimeter here. I actually end up changing this to 50 after this lesson because it was just a little hidden. So 50 is fine. And these should also be in white. So it's kind of odd because the actual white here, when it prints black. So it's a little confusing. All right. Okay, so now the other thing I need to do on this, let's get that back on there. Didn't stick. So you can also double click on here. This is the center. And I also need to then change what the line does. All right, so what we will do then is, let me go ahead and build these lines. So I'm going to show you where the hidden line is first. So I'll make my hidden lines. And I'm using these construction lines. All right. And there's one more, which is where the circle is. And I don't actually have that. So that's going to be the center line, but we want to do the hidden line. So I don't have the construction line, but you know what I can do is I can just go ahead and snap, hover over there, and that's going to be the hidden line for that circle, that half circle. All right. So what I need to do though is I need to change these lines because right now they're just solid lines. So the easiest way to do it is actually go into the layer command, and you'll see it says line type. And what I want to do is double click on that. So double click on the hidden line type, and then I'll load it. So I need to type in load. And I may as well import two of these. I'm going to do the hidden and then the center line. So load both of those. And say OK. All right, so you can see that that layer is now the hidden. And so if it didn't activate, go ahead and click on those lines, right click, go to properties, and make sure that they are on the hidden. There you go, and they should be hidden lines now. And I'm going to do the same thing for the center line. I'll build those center lines, and then go ahead and take a layer, a line. I hover over. I'm actually not snapping on these points here. You'll see in a second. So hover over, go extend over. You want to extend these center lines beyond the part. It's very important. So if it's not on center line, so we're good. Make sure that this center line has the proper line type. All right. And actually, again, these actually are better left at 50 millimeters for the line weight. All right. And it all depends on when you print how your plotter or your printer is reading these lines. Okay, so go ahead and continue, and I'll finish up this exercise by making my center lines. And there's actually not that many of them. So I'm just hovering over, then I'm snapping. And if you don't see it when you hit escape, just make it a little bigger. Now, if you're in metric, this won't work. Sometimes people start building things in inches, thinking they're metric and vice versa. So that's usually the culprit. All right, so it looks good. I'm pretty much done here. So look at my line weight, and then we'll go ahead and print this out or plot this. So go to plot, and we're going to do this as a PDF file. So you want to select the AutoCAD high quality PDF, and I'm just going to do window. This way I can control where it's going to be printing, and I'll do a preview just to make sure everything looks okay. And then I'll go ahead and click the print or the plot menu, and I'll save this to my desktop. And I am essentially done with this. You always want to inspect your PDF before you close out of this. So this is the locator part. All right, and then just make sure you inspect it and compare it to the drawing, and you've completed the locator part AutoCAD exercise.